Today we have with us Dr. Rahul Mohan from the National Centre for Polar and Ocean Research, or NCPOR, which is under the Ministry of Earth Sciences and is based in Vasco da Gama, Goa. Dr. Rahul Mohan is a senior scientist and group director of polar sciences at the centre. He's trained to look into tiny fossils, also called microfossils, to decipher past climate. Today, in conversation with Dr. Rahul Mohan, we try to understand India's interest in the polar regions. Welcome, Dr. Mohan, to All India Radio.
Thank you.
Sir, tell us a little bit about the NCPOR. How did it come into existence? And what is the exact nature of the work being done at NCPOR?
NCPOR is a premier research institution under the Ministry of Earth Sciences.
Yes.
And is an institute that is dedicated to polar sciences, one and the only institute in India. It was established way back in 1998 as Antarctic Study Center. Later, it was named as the National Center for Antarctic and Ocean Research in the year 2000, when it was dedicated to the nation on April 5th. However, as time progressed, we ventured into Arctic, Himalayas and the Southern Ocean as well, and it was renamed as the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research very recently, a couple of years back.
Why would you say, Dr. Mohan, that Indian scientists, have to travel thousands of kilometers to the polar regions? And what is the relevance of us in India doing studies of the polar regions?
Polar regions are like huge refrigerators of ice.
Yes.
On the either side of the planet. When you talk about these refrigerators, it's just snow and ice.
Yes.
So 99% is just ice. And the amount of land that is there is huge.
Okay.
So when we talk about Antarctica, it is a huge island surrounded by westward flowing waters and currents. Whereas when we talk about Arctic, it's an ocean. So Antarctica is a huge continent,
Yes.
wherein you can have 5 countries like India,
Wow.
plus some more islands.
Okay.
So it is that huge. So you can just imagine these huge ice refrigerators, if they start to change or if they start to misbehave, you would have problems on the climate system of the world.
Exactly.
That is why the Indian researchers, along with the world researchers, are very curious to know how the climate.
So as I understand that India has the research stations in Antarctica, as you spoke about, with our scientists going there. And how is it to stay there for months in these remote stations?
It is not easy. Number
Absolutely.
one, it is isolation.
Yes.
You are staying away from the mainland.
Exactly.
It is very cold, sub-zero temperatures. It is very windy, and then it is very dry. So you can just imagine the amount of problems that you have at your hand. Another thing is that in Antarctica specifically, as also in the North Pole, you have about 6 months of complete darkness.
Yes.
And that's the worry sign, because in complete darkness, your hormones, your melatonin, and even your calcification decreases because you don't have the sun rays.
Exactly.
And that is the problem, or gray areas, when you have changes in your circadian rhythms or your sleep patterns. Because you're not used to, as Indians, we are not used to these dark months.
But doctor, before going to these remote regions, do you have some kind of test that you go through? And like when you do mountaineering, you have to have these to acclimatize yourself. So does that happen with you all?
Thanks for asking that question. Yes, we do have acclimatization in Oli, that is in the ITBP center.
Okay.
We do mountain climbing, acclimatization. It's about a 15-day period.
Okay.
But before that, we have a rigorous medical checkup at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi.
Okay.
And for those who are going to stay for 12 to 14 months, that's the long winter time period,
Yes.
we have a psychological test as well at AIIMS Delhi.
Okay.
Because you need to clear the test to be eligible to go to Antarctica. Apart from that, all your lipid profiles, all your blood
All your health
tests,
checkups,
all the
basically,
complete
yeah.
health checkup has to be
Yeah.
done. And then this further gets tested at Oli. That is the region where we train them for 15 months. And that is another reason is you develop your team, you develop your group, you know your members, and that is where you interact. And that is how we come to know which are the weak links in this team.
Exactly.
So that's a big plus. Yeah.
Yes. So the polar regions are extremely tough areas to work. Once you reach there, what are the challenges that you face? And other than the climate, of course, that's one of the challenges. How do you handle those issues?
There are challenges and everyday challenges.
Yes.
There are convoys from the shelf to our research base,
Yeah.
which was constructed in 1989, Maitri,
Yes.
which sometimes do have breakdowns.
Okay.
And they can take a few days to reach Maitri because the speed is 10 kilometers per hour or less.
Yes.
If you are unable to communicate with the station, the world gets worried.
Correct.
Where are they? But we know that they are on the convoy. There are people along with them. We also send a doctor now with them. When somebody is seriously ill, there is a problem. Plus, there are emotions, human emotions. Somebody's kith and kin passed away in the mainland here. So there is uneasiness at the research base. You need to connect with them. You need to
Correct.
talk to them. There are sometimes field parties due to loss of signal or line of sight, as they say, in Antarctica. Sometimes you are unable to connect for days.
Okay.
And that's a gray area there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the helicopters are not available, or the helicopters due to bad weather are not able to take
land,
off.
yeah.
That's a time when at mainland we really feel the pinch of it that we are not able to connect. Further, although satellite communication is good, but sometimes it can also fail. And that also leads to non-connectivity with the research bases sometimes for a few hours to some days.
And what are the things that happen at Goa, at the Goa Center, to kickstart an expedition like this? Okay.
So it starts with January onwards when we have the advertisement going out, and the institutions which are eager to participate in Antarctica submit their proposals.
Okay.
As also individuals also submit their proposals to participate in the Antarctic expedition. This is the first step.
Okay.
But then this goes into a series of review processes, one at the institutional level, and then it goes to an expert committee which is aligned to the subject that you are wanting to analyze or do at Antarctica, review the projects, and they give suggestions to improve. Post that, the tabulation of marks is done, and ones who qualify a threshold are called for in-person defense.
Okay.
This is just one of them.
One of the aspects.
One of the aspects, but parallelly, we need to get everything ready from pin to clothing to fuel
Yes.
to food to medicines to getting doctors on board to getting the operations or logistic team on board. So it's a huge challenge because everything is time bound.
Yes.
You know that when it is winters here,
Yeah.
it is summers there.
Exactly.
So we need to pull up our socks to see that our expeditions from January to October is all ready. And by October end or November first week, we start the first group going to Antarctica.
Okay. You're listening to Dr. Rahul Mohan from the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research, or NCPOR. Dr. Mohan, tell us some of the type of scientific work that our Indian scientists undertake at the Antarctic and polar regions.
Oh, thank you for asking that. India has been involved in the Antarctic science since 1981 when the first expedition sailed out of Goa under the leadership of Dr. S.Z. Qasim. The first team arrived in Antarctica on 9th of January 1982. So, and now we are setting up into the 42nd year of Antarctic expeditions. So the first is that people should appreciate. Being a tropical country, we have been able to develop capacity, or as I say, it's the capacity building of human who are trained to go into the polar region. That's the first big achievement that I would list. The second is we have been able to launch on our own Indian expeditions to Antarctica, Arctic, and the Southern Ocean, trying to decipher in the bigger umbrella the climate change scenario. So we are looking at ice cores from Antarctica. These gives you changes in climate for few hundred years.
Okay.
We are also looking at lake sediments from Antarctica. These changes would throw light into some thousands of years. And we are also looking at marine sediments that take you into millions of years. Why do we need to know the past climate?
Yes.
So the thing is, we know climate of few 100 years or say 80 years to be precise or 70 years to be precise.
Okay.
But if you want to pull back and like to know what were the warm periods or what were the cold periods, you need to go back into the past. And there is no time capsule except the things which are preserved as ice or as sediments. And try to look at those organisms which are like the cassette recorders or tape recorders of Earth's history.
I see.
Try to look into them under the microscope, sometimes looking at the chemistry, and try to develop and look into how the climate change must have happened. And try to see those phases of climate change where you would have similar conditions as today, where we are seeing a warming world.
Yes.
And that's a problem area. Was Antarctica always that warm or that cold? Antarctica was never this cold. Antarctica also has coal seams. Coal seams are found or are formed only in hot and humid conditions. Antarctica has fossils of plants, leaves. So Antarctica has preserved fossils of frogs, all indicating that it was not that cold. So when did it happen? So all that is part of science. Was India connected to Antarctica? We know as geologists that it was connected. So we have now initiated a new program, GeoEIS, which looks into the East Antarctica and Eastern Ghat connection. And that's what we started a year back, but pandemic has delayed that project. The larger goal in the next 5 to 6 years would be to look at how and when India was connected to Antarctica and how did it move forward where it is in the current position.
Tell me how, with the National Science Day is celebrated every year on 28th February, how can we and how can you and your team at NCPOR create an awareness in the student community? Because they may just know about it, but how do they get into the details? Do you have some teams that go down to colleges and schools and talk to them about the research center that you'll do?
Thank you again. That's a thing so close to my heart. We do a lot of scientific social responsibility or outreach, as you may like to call it. And the Science Day is an epitome of that. When we celebrate Sir C.V. Raman's discovery, it's all about taking science to the masses. And we do a lot of school lectures, both at the degree level as well at the plus 2 level, and also to some junior sections as well, because they have a lot of interest in Antarctica and penguins. And we encourage students to visit our institution as well, not only on Science Day, but throughout the year, just with a prior permission. So we show them films, we show them some labs. We also sometimes make them interact with the scientists to understand. Because normally students feel that scientists are old, clumsy people with glasses and beard.
That's a stereotype of the scientist.
So that we are trying to break that and we have been quite successful, I would say. And what we're also trying is to make the people who know the local language connect with them. Because I feel that mother tongue is something that is so critical in when you want to connect with the masses. So we do a lot of program. We also celebrate Antarctica Day on 1st of December. That is when the treaty was signed in 1959. So we celebrate Antarctica Day as well, apart from Foundation Day and many, many other days, programs, including the Science Day.
Dr. Mohan, as you spoke to us about all that you all do at the research center, but we've just touched very, very briefly. It's a whole topic. It goes much deeper than what we see. Thank you for making time in being with us this day, and we wish you and your team all the very best in your future expeditions and whatever else you have chalked up on your diary and your schedule and your calendar. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here, and it was just wonderful talking to you and to the public at large. Thank you once again.